I have here with me two members from the renowned a cappella group, the Swingles, formerly also known as the Swingle Singers. Oliver Griffiths and Joanna Goldsmith-Eteson, welcome to Finland and welcome to Radio Classic.
Thank you for having us.
So first of all, I'd like to know how you two ended up being a part of this a cappella group. So there are 7 members in this group and you are 2 of them. Oliver, you came to the group in 2010, was it?
2010, yes. The way it works in the Swingles is there are only ever the 7 singers that we have on the stage. We don't have other people who are part of the group. It's just the 7 of us. So to become a part of the Swingles, you wait for a position to come open, so someone decides to leave, and then we just audition for that one voice part. So 5 years ago, actually, Joanna's husband was in the group singing the part that I now sing, and he decided to leave the group, and I auditioned and got the job 5 years ago. And Joanna actually has been in the group the longest out of all of us. She's been for 9 years.
What made you to apply for this group?
I was at college at the time, and I remember thinking that classical music and opera wasn't really what I wanted to do. And I used to travel to college listening to the Real Group, who I was always a huge fan of. And I really wanted there to be a job just like that out there for me. And a friend of mine actually said, "Oh, the Swingle Singers are looking for a soprano." And I was part-way through my course at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama when I heard about the auditions and decided to do it for practice or, for whatever. And was very surprised to get the job at that young age.
This group originates from the 1960s, so it's rather an old one. Have you listened to it as you were like young people or children or...?
Yes, absolutely. My parents knew of the Swingle Singers, and growing up in the choir community, there are lots of arrangements that are published that choirs sing quite often. And so there were maybe 4 or 5 songs that I'd sung previously before auditioning as well.
Though weirdly for me, strangely, I'd never heard of the Swingles before I auditioned. I then told my parents I was going to audition for the group, and they knew the music, but I at that time had not heard of it. So then went and listened back to the original albums from the 60s, and the music that they were creating then was just so exciting and full of life, that was really what started getting me hooked on wanting to be a part of this group and do this, because there's such an innovation in, I think, the DNA of the Swingles, and it's a really fun environment to be in.
Oliver Griffiths and Joanna Goldsmith-Eteson, so the roots are in the 60s and they're actually in France. Ward Swingles originated the group there. And at the time they had also like players, drums, I think, double bass, but now it's just a cappella. Is this really the same group?
I think in many ways it is. Even the current group, we just created an album for the 50-year anniversary for the Swingles, where we played with drum and bass again there, and we often play also with orchestra. In fact, we've just come back from gigs in Italy where we played with 2 different orchestras there. So that idea of collaborating with other musicians is very much still part of what we do. Obviously our main show, sort of day to day, is an a cappella show, though we're now playing a lot with technology and using looping and all sorts of other technology that means we can have more than just the 7 of our voices on stage. We're layering up our own voices and singing in harmony with ourselves and using technology to create much bigger sounds. So I think, I think we very much are the same group. I mean, we still sing a lot of the same repertoire that the original group did. Yeah,
there are some pieces in our repertoire that we'll be performing this evening that the group have done for decades and decades, and we perform them the same way now that the group did, 30, 40 years ago. And so we're so proud of our heritage and we want to bring it forward. But in bringing what the group in the 60s did, which was to create something new and exciting, we want to continue to do that as well as perform the older repertoire.
Oliver Griffiths, you mentioned the new CD, so your new CD, Deep End, will be out this month. Joanna Goldsmith-Eteson, would you like to tell us something about this new album?
It's a very exciting venture into the new for us. The last few albums that the Swingles have done have been a cappella. That's where we've been. That's what we've been concentrating on, and it was really exciting to think about the theme of the album and what pieces we wanted on there. And there's a real mixture of brand new music written by the members of the group and also pieces that the group have performed for decades. And it was an exciting way of recording as well. We actually found a studio that had 7 different isolation booths, which meant that we could sing all at the same time to get the feeling and the vibe all together. the way that most a cappella albums at the moment are recorded is one by one. You layer just one voice at a time, and then it's all edited together. But it was really exciting to be able to record in this way. It felt far more organic, and we're really proud of the end product. You know, we've been making this album for over 2 years, and so we hope that people will like the end result.
What are your personal favorites or favorite songs from this album?
Oh, for me, I've got a couple on there that I really love. There's a Debussy piece that we do called Cathédrale Engloutie. And that one we did as a collaboration with a really amazing jazz pianist from the UK. And also it has on it a spoken word piece by our founder, Ward. And that has become very poignant for us this year because he passed away earlier this year. So a big part of this new project is a tribute to him and the legacy musically that he's left to the world. So for me, every time I listen to that, it's just this incredibly beautiful piece of Debussy music with an incredibly sensitive jazz piano improvisation on the front end and the back end of it. And then over the top of that, you have these words of our founder Ward talking about the formation of the group and music and how that felt in the 60s in France. So for me, that's a very special song from the album.
The one that I think is most special to me, this is going to sound rather narcissistic, but it's a song that the two of us wrote. And it came out of an improvisation that the whole group did. So we all just were improvising and experimenting with textures and different vocal qualities. And we ended up with a section that we thought was usable. And we thought, okay, let's see if we can build on this. And so together we wrote a song based on what the whole group had improvised. And the end result, it's a song called Narnia, and the end result is... It was just really fun to see how it could come from nothing into this huge thing. We now have, I think there are 4 choirs on there who we collaborated with as well, so it's become this really huge thing.
I think there were over 100 tracks on the Logic file for that one, so there was a lot of music.
Lots and lots of different parts. But I think that's the most pleasing and satisfying to me because it came from this tiny seed of nothing. Yeah.
How much do you use improvisation when you work as a group, as the Swingles?
Do you know, increasingly we're using it more and more. I think historically not so much, but the current group, it's something actually we put into our live show quite a lot. We'll just decide to stop and improvise something just in the moment. But certainly for writing, when we often write as a whole group. So we write together. We'll get together in one of our flats and we'll spend a day writing material and workshopping ideas that we have already. But also we'll spend a lot of that time just putting an iPhone recorder down in the middle of the room and just starting singing and just seeing what happens. And it's amazing going back, you'll just find these little, 20-second bursts of inspiration that become songs. And actually there are 2 or 3 songs on the album where main themes have come from that process, from just improvising.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. Who chooses your songs? Is it you as a group, or is there someone else doing that work for you?
It's us as a group, so we have complete control over the set list that we perform, and it's very much a collaborative decision as well. We try to think really hard about what the audience respond well to. So there are some songs, as I said before, that we've been performing for decades because the audience just responds so well, and it's they've become fan favourites. And then the others, it's all experimentation. We think very hard about the order of the songs that we do in the show and how we present them to the audience. And we're very much sensitive to the reactions, and we try and build our show around what we think the audience will respond best to. So yeah, it's very much a group decision on, oh, well, the audience love it when we do this followed by that, and that works really well as a finisher, and I think we should open with this, and it's very collaborative.
And also, actually, the way that we choose to bring in new music is very collaborative as well. I think if we're going to bring in a new cover song, for example, it'll always come out of the fact that someone in the group has said, I think this song will work really well for us. So it's not just one musical director, it's everyone bringing in their own musical loves and their the things that inspire them and bringing that to the group. So that means, I think in that way, it means that the whole show feels very much like it belongs to the singers on the stage. It belongs to us because we've made all those choices as a group and to suit our voices and our musical styles.
So as there are quite a few members, like 7, are there some of you that make more arrangements for the songs than others?
Yeah, there are maybe 3 or 4 people who do the majority of the arranging, but a lot of the writing comes from a lyric idea that someone else will have or a melody idea that someone else will have. I don't think there's anyone in the group who hasn't contributed something, even though the bulk of the work ends up being done by maybe 3 or 4 people.
And because I mean, a big part of working in a group is learning when to play to people's strengths. And we have 2 or 3 people in the group who are very strong arrangers and writers, and other people who enjoy it but are not as proficient or as quick or any of those things. And I think we're in a group like this, you want to play to people's strengths. You want to give them the things that are going to allow them to shine and to really show off the group.
Joan Goldsmith-Eteson and Oliver Griffiths, how much time does the Swingles take from you, or how big a part of your life or your professional life the Swingles is?
Well, it is a full-time job for us, so it is the predominant work that we do. So when we're not on tour, we're writing or we're recording. We also, as 7 singers, we own the business of the Swingles. So we're all partners in the overall business. So we have to make sure that the accounts work and that we're meeting with the lawyers and all of those sort of slightly less glamorous parts of a touring job. But so for us, it is a full-time commitment. And we might, on a strong year, we'll be on the road touring for 6 or 7 months of that year, but not all in hits. We go away for a week and then back for a week and away. So it is a full-time position for us.
It's exciting that we have in the music world something that we do all the time. It's such a rare thing to find. Most contracts will be 6 months or a year or something. So we're so lucky to have that. It's almost like a baby that we can continue to sort of nurture and think it is something that we can grow on full time. But that being said, we if there is time when we're home, we are free to do other projects. So a few of us do some session work or some other work on the side. But we're very lucky to have this one thing that we can throw everything at.
So when there's a new opening in the group, you have auditions, but who then decides? Is it your managers or is it the group or?
So we're actually right in the middle of the process of finding a new singer right now. Our second tenor, CJ, is leaving the group in the summer, so we're auditioning at the moment. And actually the decision is entirely ours. We do all the auditioning ourselves. Obviously we have management who have an opinion and that will advise us very definitely about what they think, but the ultimate decision will come down to us. Mainly I think because we're the ones who know what it feels like to sing with another person, but also what it is to live with someone else. We have to be in an airport at 4 a.m, having slept for 2 hours, and still be able to like that person. So we function very much like a family, and I think the only people who know what that is like are the other 6 singers, because we're the ones who've lived it day in and day out.
So as you tour a lot, you perform a lot, and you spend a lot of time together, do you ever get fed up with each other?
No, never.
It's almost like having a family. We end up feeling like siblings, brothers and sisters. And so, of course, there are times when you have to go off by yourself and find something else to do. But we're very, very lucky in that we actually are all friends. We get on really well, and we find that the more time we spend socially together, the better we work together, because we remember, oh gosh, I really love you, and there's a reason we're in this together. And the social side is very important. It helps our rehearsals go smoother. It helps our energy on stage feel that much better, if we're all on there having fun together.
So one of our Swingle sopranos, Sarah, the other soprano, got married last weekend. And I think it was testament to how much we all get along, in that all the Swingles were on the dance floor, dancing with each other, having an absolute whale of a time, really enjoying each other's company, even though we didn't need to. There were another 200 people there. Yeah. But we were there dancing with each other, because we get on really well and have a good time with each other.
You've been touring a lot in South America, in North America, in Asia, in Europe. Do you have maybe some, like a funny memory or awkward memory or whatever, a memory of one of those tours that you would like to share with us? Some memorable moments.
I think I've had like 2 moments of what is my life, and one of them was many, many years ago. We went to Iceland, and we drove on snowmobiles to the top of a glacier, and I had full phone reception up at the top of a glacier, and was able to call my mum and call my family and say, I'm at the top of a glacier in Iceland. And that was such a strange sort of thing, but then the next week you find yourself in Brazil walking through the sand and you think, how did this happen? I was just in the snow and now I'm in the sand. And yeah, I think those are the times when you pinch yourself and you think, this can't be real life.
And then, I mean, just on the other end of the spectrum, I remember very clearly a time before where we were flying, and basically we had about 3 connecting flights, I think 2 of which were cancelled or delayed. We ended up sleeping on the floor of a Dallas airport, and then at like 2 in the morning being transported and sleeping on the floor of another Dallas airport. Finally managing to get the one flight out to Albuquerque, the only flight that left that day, through a storm, and then they shut the airport again. Arrived at this place and basically had to go straight to a theatre to do a gig about 2 hours later, but all of our equipment was like lost in Dallas.
No,
we had no clothes, so we had to go to a Target superstore in America and try and find clothes to wear on stage that night. And then we had none of our equipment and none of our monitors, so we were singing with equipment we weren't used to, and none of us had slept for about 36, 40 hours. And I just remember that concert being one of the most fun concerts I've ever done, because we were all a little bit insane. We had, we just were looking at each other and just being like, I don't know what's happening. I'm wearing really random clothes, and we were in like Albuquerque, New Mexico, which sounded funny because we were so tired. And I think things like that become these stories that you look back on and go, gosh, I don't know quite how we survived that. But we did, and they liked the concert, and then we slept for about 24 hours straight after that point.
I'm sure the future holds many memorable moments for the Swingles. But what are your plans now? What is happening next? Now you're in Tampere at Tampere Vocal Music Festival, and your new CD is coming out. But yeah, what next?
So obviously we've mentioned we're looking for a new singer. Mm-hmm. So by the summer we'll have a new Swingle, which is I think we've worked out that there'll be about the 81st Swingle singer that's ever been in existence. But we're also right in the middle of writing a Christmas album at the moment, which we'll be going into the studio to record next month. So we're looking forward to that too.
I'm looking forward to the tours we have coming up. We travel in America a lot, but there are still so many places that are untapped and that we still haven't really managed to find our core audience. And we're going back in February, I think. Is it February? And I'm excited to go back to some of the places that we've only ever been to once, to see if we have people who come back and who remembered us from last time. And I always look forward to the touring. I think it's my favourite part of the job.
Joanna Goldsmith-Eteson and Oliver Griffiths, thank you for this interview, and I hope you have a great summer.
Thank you so much
for
having
us. Thank you.